When I played Portal for the first time ever, I remember staying up late one day to keep playing it. It was around midnight when I got to the abandoned part of Appler to Science, and suddenly I got really nervous. Even without a drastic change in the game, something felt odd. I kept trying to rush through the area and looking behind me both in the game and in real life, feeling that something was there, till I simply couldn't keep playing anymore from how scared I was, so I turned off the computer and went to sleep. I have always been someone easy to scare, so I didn't think much of it at the time, until I discovered that many people share this feeling. So it got me curious. What was about this game that made me so scared that wasn't present in the sequel? Why is Portal 2 a fun comedy game while Portal 1 feels like a horror one? So, after replaying both games, I came to the conclusion that it was because I felt lonely and out of place. While in Portal 2 we get two characters full of personality that keep us company throughout a lot more colorful Aperture Science, as we learn the history of a place that's kinda familiar and there's a storyline where we take an important role in. In the first game, we are just thrown into the chambers without knowing anything. What are we testing for? What is Aperture Science? Why are they making a portal gun? Who are we? Where is everyone? Then, after escaping being burned alive, we move throughout the abandoned part of Aperture Science. The now familiar white walls are gone, and the feeling that we are somewhere we aren't supposed to just increases. We finally made our way to the final room of the game, where we encounter GLaDOS. The monotone voice that talked to us during the entire game does belong to a conscious robot that is extremely aware of everything around her and now wants to kill us. I have seen a lot of people that said that GLaDOS' design looks like a bound woman, hanging upside down, and apparently this was intentional by the developers. Personally, I don't see it. I look at her for a while, to me she resembles absolutely nothing. I can barely make out the basic silhouette, and honestly, I think I prefer it that way. It ties back to one of my previous points. Throughout every single chamber, there's nothing that resembles a human or something animalistic. Just robots and technology that can be confusing in universe. Are we in a fantasy setting, a futuristic one, a post-apocalyptic one? In Portal 2, GLaDOS loses that monotony. Even if her voice is still robotic, she expresses a lot more of emotion, and the way she moves and her mannerisms are a lot more humanoid. Also, she's just funnier overall. I think it's really interesting how a game that many people consider straight up horror evolved into this pop culture fun classic. And all that is without touching the very disturbing lore of Portal. The Aperture Science facilities are basically a graveyard and where Cave Johnson took advantage of a lot of people, homeless and other people who really needed that money, and also Caroline, who was forced to become a robot with an insatiable thirst for science. I doubt we'll ever see this kind of quiet horror from Valve again. The only other media that I can think of that makes me feel a bit similar to what made this first game so scary are the backrooms, before the people started adding the levels and the monster, etc. etc. I find the idea that you are in a strange subliminal space that looks oddly familiar, that you have no idea how to get out, how did you get in, or if you're truly alone, a lot more fun and terrifying than a scary monster that's chasing you all the time. But hey, that's just my opinion. Well, that will be all for my part. If you're still watching, please consider liking and subscribing, since that will help me a lot. I hope to see you next time.